Hello, welcome back to another episode and series about how to find the one. I mean, I admit this is just like a catfish title. People would like to know how to find the one, but personally, I don't believe in the one. I think the world is so big, and for sure, you can find many people to be partners with. But I would like to share some stories from the people around me. Maybe we will know a little bit more. Maybe that will inspire you to maybe date differently or looking at different things when you're trying to find your next partner. So I ask my friends or people around me who are happy in the relationship in general, like, what was the one thing that making them feel like, hey, I feel like this is the person that I could, spend time with in the long term. And to the point that people get to marriage. But that's also another big topic. Marriage is something I can't say I can put a lot of input with because I've never get married, but about finding someone that feels right is what we're talking about here right now. So let me read this because it's in a chat. So a friend shared that me and my partner share what's on our mind and we listen. We give each other a lot of space to do what we enjoy. And one thing that surprised me when we first got together was that I never craved for alone time. I thought everyone needed alone time and I needed lots of alone time. I know a lot of people would need time away from their partners, but for me, it was simply not true. In other words, I'm never tired of him. We don't have to be doing anything together, just simply being in the same space doing our own stuff is relaxing and comforting. So we vibe together but separately, if that makes sense. So this is such a super good example because I can echo on that. I definitely think that like my relationship is similar in some way. I think I dated different people, and most of the time, I'm okay with just seeing each other like once per week or sometimes twice per week. But then I would not feel like doing it all the time. Um, I gotta say, there are people that doing different kinds of dynamics. There are people that are on the same page, being like, hey, we have our own life and we like the format of like meeting once or twice per week, and that is perfect for them. So I can't comment on that, but I'm more like, you know, this friend that like to enjoy spending time together because because there is a foundation of friendship there. I think nowadays when people use dating apps, we want it to be fast, right? Like we filter some people who have multiple chats open. We just go out and meet them and immediately sense that like, okay, if it's someone I want to see again, and okay, if not, move on to the next. And all these process somehow speed up how people should get to know each other and interact as a foundation. It's very common that people are like, I'm gonna use a dating app and then we flirt and then in 2, 3 months and then we're officially being together or like being romantic, dating. And I think this is also like West and East difference there. Um I would say nowadays is quite common for I think at least I think I'm from Hong Kong. I would say people around me, or the people that I observe, it's true. Chatting from the dating app meeting within like 2 or 3 months, they're gonna be official together. And I always want to challenge that or like question that because can you randomly pick someone on the street and then let's say you talk to each other day and night, staying up, the phone calls, not hanging up, like typical stuff, and then suddenly you feel like, yeah, this is someone that like I'm gonna be in a relationship with. I think when we're younger, we tend to do that because, like, why not? Going with the flow of the feelings and attraction and so on. But when I get older, I start to realize that, like, wait a second, I was so attracted to this person, but down the line, it doesn't even take long, like 5 months, 6 months, 7 months. I started to question, like, wait a second, what this person is, like, values or the things it's saying and what they care about, like, it's not really aligning with what I have. And you're not gonna pay attention to that much, but definitely you can sense it. I remember one of my partners was openly being racist. I'm not even joking, it's outrageous. The person would say something like, um, I would never ever let children date black people. I'm like, what? Hello? What are you talking about? And then he would be like, oh yeah, I have black friends, the typical, but I wouldn't let my children do it. And if you ask them why, they cannot give you any logical reason. They're just racist. And nowadays, if I hear this kind of statement, I'll be like, okay, wait, yeah, I'm instantly not attracted to this person anymore because it's just outrageous. But back then, I'm like, what, 24? I feel like, okay, that's kind of weird, but I'm not counting into the equation of, like, do I want to be with someone long term? But over time, I definitely started to feel that. It's like all different aspects is gonna show, like, okay, this person's have a complete different values than I have. So I think that's definitely something you only know over time because you're gonna be in different situations. You're gonna talk about different things, and it's not something that you can condense into 2 or 3 months and then you figure it out. You can go on a full questionnaire and all that, but, like, you're not gonna know until something happened at that moment and they say something, and then yeah, I mean that is also one part, and then the other part is that wait, you're gonna spend most of the time with this person, like your life. You're gonna talk about the most boring shit together. You're gonna have days that are like boring. Are you still enjoying this person's company? You know? Because attraction definitely fade away. And I definitely had those um situationships or relationships started because I'm extremely attracted to the person, either sexually or physically, however it is. Um, but those things fade away. It definitely fade away. I would be kidding myself if I say, okay, well, if I feel this towards someone, why wouldn't I pursue it? So I would say that is a really good thing to have, but it's also very likely gonna cloud your judgment. You're gonna only think about the last part all day long, and then you are not as clear-minded to spot all the other things that basically makes you not compatible with each other. And to be fair, you wouldn't even know until you experience more. So how to find the one basically means that you need to meet and find a lot of not the one in order to find the one, because how can you know yourself with the interacting with other people, right? You can be alone all day long and you can write journals all the time. You can read all these self-help books. You can chat with your friends and all this. But sometimes I would say you really have to interact with the other person to, somebody else, like other people's like a mirror. Then you would start to understand more about yourself. Because most of the time, I think people will assume a lots of things are like, okay, this is what I like, what I don't like, what I believe in, what I want, and all that. And some of the things are also like common sense, the things that you wouldn't think about. Like, for example, I would not consider anyone that is mean to little animals, very straightforward, like very typical thing. But you wouldn't think about, like, wait, I think most of the people are kind to animals, right? Like small animals. They're so cute. But then the moment you meet some crazy fucking serial killer fucking potential serial killer, they'd be like, you can see there's no affection in their eyes, and they just want these animals to be gone. They don't want to be around them and all that. To me, it's a red flag. I mean, I understand people, let's say they're afraid of them or like they don't like it and all that, but there's a whole other thing when you see that people like just do not have any affection towards them. And I think that speaks a lot. There's a lot of small things you need to observe, you need to experience. Um, and then to add on another conversation that I have. Shout out to Sophia, by the way. That is the little input that asks the questions. We love any of you. If you want to share your stories, share your opinions, or if you have any questions or topics that would want to hear about and want me to ask around, please let me know. The other person that shares something very interesting is also echoing on all these things that we're talking about, friendship as a foundation, is that, well, I was in a relationship and you thought that you're gonna hang out with their friend group, you go meet their friends, which is also one of the things that I agree with. You gotta see their friends to know that you're gonna get along with this person in the long term, because their friend circle speaks a lot about the person. But mind you, I'm talking about something a bit more like long term, because some people actually don't have a solid friend group, from back in the days. They might be just all these new peoples. All these new people doesn't mean that it affect totally who they are, you know. Um, but the key takeaway here is that at the end of the day, it's gonna be only two of you spending time together. So don't put too much emphasis of like what kind of people they're hanging out with. Of course, there's the indicator, but can you actually spend time with this person alone for, let's say, going on a trip for 2 weeks? I think this is like maybe one of the fastest way to check if you're vibing with each other. Just go on a short trip together. I think at the very least, you would feel like you're having a good time, and you probably wouldn't like have fights. That's that's my own experience. So going on a trip, and then you will find people have their own habits of everything, and then there's also a lot of conflicts would happen. What do you want to do, when you want to go, when you want to wake up, what do you want to spend on this, when you spend on that. I would say if you have a big arguments and things that feeling, that probably is a sign. I don't want to jinx it, but it's a very telltale sign. And I also want to throw it in that I don't believe in working hard to make a relationship work. Because, dude, you already have a job, you work. There's a lot of difficult things in life. Why do you want to fucking have hard work in relationship? Isn't it? It should be the opposite. It should be a bit easier. I mean, easier as in like you get along, and then you go through life and you have all the challenges and you have to deal with it together, dude. Okay. So yeah, I yep a lot in this episode, but I hope there's something interesting for you, and I will see you next time. Okay. Take care. Ciao, ciao.